I'm a big believer in the center of the Venn diagram. Before you know it, you start seeing these intersectionalities and the centers of the Venn diagrams, and that is where innovation happens.
On today's episode of the GSD Factor podcast, we are jumping into an incredible conversation with Dr. Kavya Sharman. We're going to answer questions around what is biotech and how does it affect me? What is Techbio? And friends, there is a difference. And what is this thriving ecosystem here in the Nashville area for biotech? Not just entrepreneurs and founders, but also for investors. Let's jump into the conversation as we learn how Dr. Kavya Sharman is getting shit done in both the biotech space and with Techbio. Dr. Kavya Sharman, welcome to the GSD Factor podcast.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to jump right in. Help us with the understanding of biotech.
The most true definition of biotech is taking something that came out of biology, a living organism, modifying it with some technology, and then reintroducing it back into the body for health, treating diseases. Similar, and kind of as listeners are thinking about biotech, you've also got med devices, diagnostics, which can expand into basically all fields and opportunities and technologies that end up affecting human beings everywhere.
So we're all affected by biotech. We all probably use biotech to some degree, whether we realize it or not.
Absolutely. I would say it's the one field that touches every single person in some way, shape, or form. If you've been born, if you've been to a hospital, if you've had insulin, if you've had Lipitor, if you've had your blood pressure tested, you've been affected by a technology that came from the biotech space.
Now that we've established that definition and use cases, we're going to flip it on its head. Now, share with our listeners the new up-and-coming terminology called Techbio.
It's something that I'm really excited about and something that has really only taken shape in the last few years. Techbio, and heavy emphasis on the tech first, is where biology meets engineering, software, data science. It's where we're actually using technology to accelerate biological discovery, to increase drug discovery, to increase specificity. But unlike true biotech, which often is a single solution, single shot on goal, you're building a single drug and taking it from phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 into the clinic, Techbio is essentially companies and technologies that are facilitating or potentially helping that process, making it faster, making the manufacturing better, reducing toxicity, making better predictions. So it's truly technology first applied into biology, healthcare, and drug discovery.
So this next question for you is a little bit of a dual question, but what is exciting you the most right now around the Techbio innovation that we're seeing? Also, why Nashville in the Southeast for Techbio?
Great question. Even just a few years ago when I was in grad school and my PhD was in data science, and I was literally hard coding things like a principal component analysis by hand. It was really fun and exciting. And the reason I was doing that is because we had access to these terabytes of data sets that we really didn't know what to do with at the time. As of just a few years ago, thanks to artificial intelligence, AI advancements, things like ChatGPT, large language models, we now have the capacity to interrogate these data sets in a way that we've never been able to do before. The exciting thing is we're sitting on so much exciting data. And then when you think about Nashville as the healthcare capital of the country, potentially the world, you think about how much data, and even places like Vanderbilt with BioVU and the hundreds of thousands of de-identified patient data sets that we have. I think the timing is so perfect and the opportunities are so exciting because we finally have the technology that matches the level of data and sophistication that we have.
So I want to take this two places. You touched on it a little bit, but talk to us about the importance of AI and how Techbio is really leveraging AI intentionally and how it's helping be a catalyst and really helping with that innovation in the Techbio space.
Human beings are really good at thinking one-dimensionally, maybe 2, 3 on a good day, 4 on a great, right? Even if you try to say like, how much is a trillion? It is so difficult for us to actually compute that in our minds. The exciting thing with artificial intelligence and machine learning is a computer can think in hundreds of thousands of dimensions and see connections that we would not have seen. I think that opportunity, that specificity, and that way of connecting different data sets in a way that no human, or at least maybe a very rare human, could do is really exciting right now. And to me, that is the opportunity, is seeing some of these connections, seeing that, oh, what are some interesting biological factors that we might have missed in a disease like Parkinson's or Alzheimer's, instead of what we've done historically, which is we found an interesting target. We were going to solve something in Parkinson's. We're going to build a drug for that. We're going to test it. And to be clear, that is still happening. It's still important. But if there's a way we can narrow that search space from 1,000 or even 100,000 molecules or potentials, if we can narrow that down and say, we have 100,000 options, but 70,000 of these are never going to be able to be manufactured. And by the way, 10,000 of these will never be able to be safe enough for a human being. So by narrowing down that space, we're not necessarily replacing any part of this drug discovery process, but we are leveraging AI and machine learning and genetic information to make better and more precise discoveries.
Could it also mean that we are getting to market faster with treatments, medications?
All of it. Just to give you an example, I was talking to a neuroscientist the other day, and he was talking about, he works in the lab. He and his team used to take these large imaging data sets, and they would take probably 12 hours each image, and they have 1,000 of these to annotate and say, like, this is the marker, this is one part of the brain, and it's a very manual process. They're now using AI, and it takes them 10 seconds per image. That amount of efficiency, and it's just one example. There's other examples that I can share more on the gene editing space. There's a company that's taking the gene editing process from 5 years or, in millions of dollars down to a fraction of that, because they are eliminating a lot of the negative space and carving out where the opportunities really are.
It's allowing them to fail faster and fail forward, as we like to say here on the GST Factor podcast. Talk to us about those cross-industry innovations that are happening. Recently at your summit, we talked Techbio, AI, innovation, and we talked about it in space. And I think that was such a fascinating conversation. Share with our listeners a little bit more about those cross-industry innovations that really excite you.
I'm a big believer in the center of the Venn diagram. And if I could indulge you in a short story, a few years ago, they did a study, a large analysis on where Nobel Prizes come from. Predominantly, they were coming out of the UK. And they did this big study, looked at all of the different variables to see, okay, what is so exciting there? And they narrowed it down to one thing: tea time. Because every single day, everybody without fail, whether you're a full professor or a graduate student or undergrad, pause in the middle of the day, come out, have a cup of tea, sit together, and they're all scientists, they're all nerds. We're going to talk about science and what we're building. And the next thing you know, it's like, hey, you have this really cool technology that you're building. Can I put it here in this system that I'm testing? And before you know it, you start seeing these intersectionalities and the centers of the Venn diagrams, and that is where innovation happens. So when you ask me about what I'm most interested in, to me, it's seeing more and more people that are trained classically in computer science. These are people that are former Apple, former Tesla, SpaceX, and really understand the technology. And now they're bringing that skill set into biology, which I think is really exciting, because now you have the people that are at the forefront of one field meeting the biologists who are at the forefront of theirs, and you bring those together. What I'm seeing more and more are these companies that have a technical founder and a biological founder, if you will. And in my mind, and as well as an investor, I think this is where the opportunity and excitement lies.
So, beautiful pivot into the investment side of this, because you are certainly the catalyst that is really bringing together these intersections of investors, tech bio specialists. Talk to us about what that ecosystem is like and what led you to start and kick off Phase Capital in the tech bio space.
I started Phase Capital because I had been in Nashville for 10 years at the time. And I had seen some incredible technologies, often founded by former friends of mine, former graduate students that I'd worked with. And they set up their company and they looked around this ecosystem for resources and capital and funding. And it was really a sparse network, to put on my data science hat for a second, right? The opportunities were few and far between. And so when I originally set out to build Phase, I said, I just want to help Nashville startups in biotech, in tech bio, in health tech. And that quickly evolved, because like any company that I work with, I say, you need to focus on one thing and do it really, really well. And I realized of all of the things that I could focus on, if I could get these companies invested in, that would be huge. And so I launched Phase Capital to essentially create a new investment model where we invest in these companies, support them with advisory, and really just help them get to that next phase. And that is 100% a pun. I am really excited about this next phase of growth really for these early stage companies.
Talk to us about all the things that you're doing as you are bringing together this ecosystem, right? Because you are uniquely bringing together the innovation, the tech bio, the investors, the data scientists, the technology gurus, and you're bringing them together in this beautiful ecosystem here based out of Nashville, but really starting to reach out into the world.
Honestly, our Frontier Summit in February was a great example of this. Two things here. One, I was blown away by the interest and excitement from other ecosystems to come to Nashville. We had people from 44 cities come to Nashville for this conference and representing some of the largest venture firms, some crazy, good, amazing startups that were coming in from San Francisco and Chicago. It was incredible because I didn't have to convince them. I said, hey, we're doing this thing in Nashville. We have some really great people. Do you want to come? And they said, absolutely. And so that's one aspect. The other thing is, like I alluded to before, the center of the Venn diagram. Maybe a long time ago when you were building some of these drugs and therapeutics, you had to be in a vacuum because you were laser focused on this one thing. As we're becoming more and more connected, we're starting to see different cities are really good at different things. For example, Columbus, Ohio is a gene therapy capital. I didn't realize this until very recently. Most clinical trials are done in Houston, Texas, out of MD Anderson. There are so many exciting hubs in each of these cities, each of these ecosystems is so well positioned for their particular focus, right? The same way that Nashville is really good at healthcare and healthcare services. So in my mind, it almost seemed silly not to bring all of these great people together and say, you're good at this thing over here. You're good at this over here. You're investing in these companies. Why don't we all just come together and talk about the future? That's why it's called Frontiers. Where are we going next? What is that next frontier? But also just have an authentic way for people to connect. My rule at all of my events is no pitching or selling, just come be a human. And that inevitably leads to good things because once you put that aside, everybody's just really excited to talk about what they're building in and what they're investing. And so as you start bringing all these ecosystems together, I think it's a really fun and innovative place to be.
It's your own tea time.
It is my own tea time. I like that. Can we brand that?
We can. When you talk to a ton of investors, you talk to a lot of startups, you are talking to a lot of companies and individuals all over the world. What is the most exciting innovation that you are anticipating as we think about dreaming big and being imaginative? What is that innovation that really gets Dr. Kavya Sharman excited for the future?
I'm going to say it and then I'm going to take it back. Precision medicine. I take it back simply because precision medicine has been a term that has been used for a long time, even back in 2016 when I was working at Vanderbilt Medical Center, and there were folks that were leading the charge here, the Precision Medicine Initiative. And I think it's been a really needed and positive space. At the same time, what we've seen is not necessarily precise medicine, but what I would call subcategorization. So instead of you coming in and saying, hi, I have high blood pressure, instead of having one medication, you might have a chance to have 5. If I had to wave a wand and see something happen, what I think would be really exciting is based on your specific DNA, your specific socioeconomic factors, where you live, what you eat, this is the precise way that you should be treated. And I think we're both really far, but also really close to true precision medicine.
I love that. And I think that it's where healthcare is going. It's where tech bio is going. You talked about it earlier with AI, in that you're going from this amount of space to now this amount of space, and can really target and say, okay, this is the precision treatment or this is the precision diagnostics that we're looking at. And I think that that's huge. Let's put our investor hat on for a minute. And you are looking at those early stage tech bios and you are talking to potential investors, maybe ushering in new investors into this space. Because I think what's important is that because there's just a lot of misconceptions and misunderstanding around tech bio, how do we use it? And does it affect me? What are some of those myths that you can bust for us today around early stage investing and wanting to bring along more investors into this exciting space?
Great question. Myth number one, you need a PhD. You do not need a PhD to be successful in this space. Historically, I think we've seen a lot of that expertise that's needed, but whenever I'm looking at a company and we're doing diligence, once you break it down, the true technology is maybe 5 to 20% of what we're actually investing in. We're investing in the team. We're looking at the cap table. We're looking at their commercialization strategy. Underneath all of that is the skeleton of a true business, and that is universal. So whenever I'm talking to potential people that want to invest or want to get educated, I start by asking them questions, what do you do? What do you invest in? How do you think about businesses? And once we start getting into that, not that level 1, but level 2, 3, 4, 7, you start to realize those parallels are right there. And if you can understand how to build a business, whether you're building a B2B SaaS company in one space or you're building a real estate engine, there's so many overlaps and opportunities that if you can understand that original framework, then you can not only understand and validate some of these companies, but you also could be helpful to those companies. I think there's this myth that you have to be a crazy, excited person to be in the investment space. Like venture capital has always had this lights and movie star, red carpet kind of energy. And that is not the case. For one, I'm a recovering scientist and I kind of fell backwards into this space and I love it. It's incredible because you're essentially investing and supporting and helping companies that have a higher risk but higher impact. And the other thing that I always think about is the type of person that it takes to invest in a company like this, or the type of person that it takes to support these types of companies. If you are a good human and you are interested in helping and being a listening ear to some of these companies, you are well positioned for investing in this space, or even just not even investing your dollars, but investing your time. Because so much of building a company is not just building a really strong product, but integrating with different systems, keeping your company happy. And this is something that you are really good at, Misha, and just understanding human beings and how do you incentivize and how do you build a team. If you can understand some of those basics, please come join and help our early stage companies be successful.
I think what's important too about investors, and this is something I've learned along this journey, is that the portfolio companies actually really do lean into their investors to help bridge that gap when they have a gap in whatever it may be. Maybe it's leadership, maybe it's strategic thinking, maybe it's they need to get shit done. Whatever it may be, they will look to not just their board, but also they will look to the firm that is investing in them and subsequently their investors to say, can you bridge this gap? Can you have a seat at my table to help me get over this gap that I have? And I think that that was one of those myths that was busted for me as an early investor was, oh, I won't have any interaction with my portfolio companies. And that's far from the truth. And I think that that is a trend that I'm seeing more and more, whether it's startups, VCs, PE firms. Find those funds that allow you to interact and allow you to be hands-on and rolling up your sleeves, because more and more portfolio companies are actually wanting that interaction and that assistance from their investors.
100%. I mean, product market fit doesn't always apply to the technology. It's also the VC firm and the company. Because to your point, I often talk to my companies or companies that are just in our network and ecosystem, and I say, be very selective about who you take investment from, because you're giving up equity into your company. Some investors, some VC firms lean into being very hands-on. They want to be with you. There's some VC firms that say, hi, here's a check. Let us know how it goes in 2 years. Both of those are fine and good and ideal for the right company, but understanding that and understanding what you're looking for is so important. So to your point, I think it is so critical to have that understanding. And I'm glad that, you're joining and helping these companies because they need you. This is great.
I think when people think about investing as well, you're writing a check and you may or may not see something for 5, 7, 10, 15 years, right? Depending on what you've invested in. So let's look at the roadmap though and say, I think it's a lot faster now, especially with the assistance of AI. What does Dr. Kavya Sharman see as the roadmap over the next 2 years? Because as you and I both know, AI is accelerating things at such a fast rate that I think companies have to almost not really think about a 5-year roadmap, but they really do have to think about that 2-year roadmap, 3-year roadmap?
Great question. One of my favorite professors from Vanderbilt, I think I can call him out, Joe Rando, is an incredible human being and thinker. First class that I took with him, he said, if you don't know where you're going, how do you know when you get there? And I have held on to that for the longest time. And it's something that I think answers your question, because on one side, you have to have that roadmap. You have to have the next 5 to 7 years. But on the other hand, understand that your next 3, 6, 9, 12 months might be completely different because of these advancements in AI. So when I'm thinking about the next 2 years, for example, for any of these companies, I'm tracking not only their current trajectory and where they're saying they're headed and where they're actually headed, but also what are those different inflection points where a new AI technology can come in and maybe ramp up some of their development or discovery or something along those lines. What are those inflection points? And in my mind, that is what I think about in the nearer term. And those inflection points could result in a faster return or potentially not, because, as excited as I get about accelerating some of these pipelines and timelines, I'm also cautious in that, a company does take time to get built and pivots will happen inevitably. So that's the way that I look at it.
Think about you're in an elevator and you have an elevator ride to get someone excited about Techbio. What would you say to them?
Love this question. I would do 2 things. Ask, what do you do? What are you excited about? And then have you thought about? Because again, I am so excited and passionate and optimistic about the center of the Venn diagram. And every time I talk to someone that is in a different ecosystem or a different space altogether, like, what if we took this marketing insight and applied it into Techbio? What if we took this really interesting real estate model where the way that you're structuring the deal is so unique for your investors? Could we apply that here? So that is what I would say. And honestly, that's why I started the Cup of Coincidence series, because that's the only event that we do that's from people from every industry. They're always here in Nashville so far. The beauty of that is we have people from every single industry. We had an international opera singer come, and now she's talking to someone who's building a really cool med device company. I mean, these are the kind of interactions. But if I was in an elevator, I think I would start with, tell me about you. And then a quick, have you thought about, have you considered?
You're dreaming big, but you're also being imaginative about the connections that can be made. And you're helping people think about, have you thought about this and this coming together and this coming together? Because I think so often this ecosystem has been very closed off, if you will. And I think what you're doing in your role within the ecosystem, not just here in Nashville, but the broader United States and the world, is saying, let's have that opera singer come and talk. Let's have this person from the technology space come and talk. Let's have these connections made. And that's really what's driving innovation now, I think, is these unprecedented conversations that are taking place, because you never know where the ideas are going to come from.
I'm also floored, and the momentum is there because I'm seeing this rise of the polymath. If you look at history and you look at the way that people have operated in the past versus now, the rise of the polymath, or someone who is good at 4 different things, is huge. And because of these polymath individuals who are also good at finance, but also good at art, but also good, you are naturally seeing these connections and collisions. It's interesting because if you have these collisions and things happening in one person's brain, and then you match that person with someone else who has exciting collisions, suddenly you're not scaling linearly. That's an exponential scale. Can you tell I'm a data scientist? I'm looking at people and I'm envisioning graphs.
You're getting shit done. Thank you so much, Dr. Kavya Sharman. Thank you for listening to Get Shit Done. Are you an influential leader that has a dream to write a book and put your words out into the world? Reach out to us today so we can help make your book dream a reality. Let's get shit done.